At this point, we're going to discuss harvest supervision for corn, and one of the first things is obviously to check the combine to be sure that it's clean of its contents, and that usually takes a little bit of time to blow out whatever's in there. And then check the truck, and sometimes if it's not empty, as in this case, I would escort that truck to the certified scale and get it weighed off. If it's empty and they have an empty weight on the truck and you can check it to other tags and it matches up, you could probably go ahead and use that empty weight. Next thing would be to take a measurement in the field, and I like to tell growers before I get there to have the end rows cleaned out and the sides off and the strips identified, and leave enough corn that you can have second harvest if we need to certify that. And so you'll have to get a measuring wheel. It's important to have one that's fairly accurate. I like a heavier version that's going to stick to the ground and not roll up over fodder. And you'll need to measure off a predetermined area in the field. This can be done once you get the combine operator going on his harvest. I prefer to see a minimum of 100 feet, and some people have been known to go out to 500 foot of row. I do 250 feet times 2 rows. And then what you're looking for is down and barren. This would be an example of a barren ear where it's a nubbin. There's really not much on it, and I would put that down as a barren ear. And then the broken off stalks would be considered down, where it's completely broken down to where the ear is laying on the ground. In that case, a lot of times it breaks off 6 inches above, particularly with stalk rots. But you can get corn borer damage that's just below the ear that knocks it down, and of course you can get a lot of wind damage, which the whole plant would go down. And so as you finish that procedure up and get some decent idea of the actual amount of population in there, I try to do a quick calculation so that the farmer can get some means of report immediately. And therefore I bring my laptop computer where I can enter it into the spreadsheet that I can provide to you, that you can then utilize to give real-time information to the farmer. Now, once the harvest is beginning, it's very important to make sure that they leave enough corn for second harvest if it's going to approach the threshold on the national contest, which is 250 bushels. And if it needs a recheck of over 270, those numbers might change from year to year, but read the information packet that will provide you with the proper cutoffs there. But you need to leave enough corn in that field to do the second or third harvest if it's required. Now, once that farmer gets going and he's driving around, you might have some time in between to go ahead and do an assessment of his harvest loss. Going behind the combine, measuring a 10-foot area and measuring off the amount of kernels that you might find there. Typically on wetter corn, over 20%, you don't typically find a lot of yield harvest loss. However, as you get into the drier part of the season in November, a lot of times you will get significant amount of ears on the ground, as well as kernels that might get, as it's being taken off the ear, some of those kernels might fall to the ground. And that also does vary by the combine and its maintenance. Now, as we move into the latter phase, once the information's gathered on the row length and the width of the header, you can calculate the amount of passes that need to take place to make up the 1.25 acre minimum harvest size. You can take more than that, but you can't take less than that. So once you do that and you tell the farmer to take 2 or 3 or 5 passes depending on the field length, then you can go ahead and go through the process and get it dumped onto that empty trailer and begin to do some calculations. If you are accompanying the vehicle, You can either drive in the cab, drive your own vehicle. If you do select to drive that vehicle, you need to have a legal CDL license to do that. Now when it comes down to the weigh off, you need to make sure that the scales are certified, and you need to collect a moisture sample. I prefer, if it's going to be a dump method, to collect samples as it's being dumped until it's clean, and then mix those together. Otherwise, use a probe that you can go to the top of the bin and probe several times in that lot to make sure that you get an adequate measure of moisture. Once you do that, it's basically into the scale house, get those weights compared, empty and heavy, check the certificates, make sure that the moisture meter is accurate for this season,